23-14. The Eagles win again. They're 5-0. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro out here at SoFi Stadium. Nice digs. Nice win for the Eagles.
It was I thought their best win of the year, considering everything, the injuries. And look, that's, that West Coast trip is never easy. Considering what they had out there in the secondary today, it's kind of a makeshift secondary. I just like the way they finished. I thought it was going to be a shootout, and in a way it was, because both teams were moving the ball early. But man, the Eagles in the second half, and it's something that's been a problem. They've been outscored in the second half, been outscored 42-26 coming in the fourth quarter, but they finished. They controlled the ball in the second half. They made plays on both sides of the ball. I thought both coordinators had really, really good plans and made great adjustments. When this game started, it's 17-14 at halftime. You're thinking, all right, this is going to be whoever has the ball last. But the Eagles kind of took command in that third quarter and never gave it up.
They did. That's what you want to see. You're right. They've had so many games this year already where, it gets close at the end and you're like, man, they've controlled this game. Why is this even in question right now? And this one wasn't at the end. You'd like to see them score more in the red zone. And because this was a controlling win. They should have won by more points than they did. It
kind of like the Tampa game. Yeah.
Yeah. 23-14 final. But they really did dictate this entire game. They pitch a shutout in the second half. But I guess we have to start with the offense. Are you cool with that? Let's do that. I thought Jalen Hurts had a really nice day. I thought the passing offense looked really good. Dallas Goedert finally got involved, which was, we were starting to wonder about that a little bit 4 games in, but
sure.
Great game for him. A.J. Brown goes off again. This is a really efficient offense. And, no Cam Jurgens. They had Sua Opeta out there, and they still managed to control Aaron Donald. Really, 23 points doesn't look great, but then you look into the numbers and you realize that they struggled in the red zone. And you say, okay, this was still a pretty dominant performance.
Yeah, they had 4 red zone trips where they didn't get touchdowns. Again, the last possession skews the stats, 2 field goals and a turnover. Again, it's kind of like the Tampa game. They could have had 40 very easily, but they had enough, and certainly the defense did its part. But I really like the offense. I like the balance. I like the fact – I thought it was the first game this year where Brian Johnson really kind of just mixed a lot of different things in. We saw him throwing to the backs. We saw them mixing the backs in the second half, kind of threw to build the lead and then ran to keep the lead. Got different guys involved. It was the first time I felt like the offense had that dimension of really being unpredictable and multiple and varied. I just really like the whole concept of the offense. And their third downs, they finished 13 out of 18. But I believe they were 11 out of 13 at one point. Still, 13 is the most third down conversions they've had in a game. You probably looked this up since 1994 against Washington at the Vet, which was right over there. They just moved the ball. I just felt like they were going to score every drive. Obviously, AJ was just unbelievable again. I really like the way Jalen played, and he ran when it was warranted. I still think he took too many hits. He got a little physical. He's such a competitor. He takes on linebackers.
We haven't found that middle ground yet. He's either like sliding after 1 yard gains, or he's lowering his shoulder every play.
Yeah. You still worry about him. A game where he has 15
was great
yards.
With his legs today.
He was great. Yeah. There was one play. They had him. I think it was that number 2 had him wrapped for like a 3 yards short of the sticks on a 3rd and 8. And he just willed himself to the sticks. And he has that ability. You throw out the interception it's kind of really similar to the other one, same corner of the end zone or at the 1 or whatever it was. But I just really like the way he's played the last 2 games, really. Driving the ball down the field, aggressive, good decisions, seeing things really well. He missed Quez open in the end zone, although he might have just thought Quez is going to drop it, so I'm not going to throw it to him. But no, that's not fair. But I think he's played just a little bit better each week. And you kind of knew it was coming. You just didn't know when. And look, it's a big adjustment. You got a new quarterbacks coach, a new coordinator, some new teammates. Um, and it's hard coming off a Super Bowl to just pick up right where you left off. But it took a couple of weeks, and he wasn't terrible early. He wasn't awful. But this is the Jalen that we've kind of been waiting for. And the Jalen I expect that we'll see for most of the rest of the season.
Yeah, I thought getting Dallas involved was a big deal too. And look, 4 games isn't. Nick Sirianni said it's not a big enough sample size yet. But I mean, it is almost a quarter of the season. I mean, it's not an insignificant amount of time to start drawing some conclusions. So I thought it was good. And Dallas Goedert mentioned this, and I think we had talked about it before. But he had opportunities for yards after catch in this game, which is really what separates him from a lot of tight ends in the league. There are a lot of tight ends who can go and catch a ball for 10 yards and fall down, but Goddard is so good when you get him in rhythm and you get him, you lead him down the field, and he showed that today. I mean, when you get the ball in his hands, he can make things happen, and I thought that was encouraging. The types of targets he got were much better for him in this game. Like the pure target numbers through 4 games, you look at it and you don't panic because you're like, they're still trying to get in the football, but they did it in a much more efficient and effective manner today.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And he got the ball in places where he could just keep going. And once he gets ahead of steam, I mean, like, you don't want to be anywhere near that guy. He was trampling people. He kind of ran angry. I mean, he ran like I can't believe I only have 88 yards. I really want to, kind of get that number up a little bit here, and he did. Yeah, it was just to have somebody other than Devontae or AJ. And obviously, Devontae didn't. What do you have? 1 catch for 6 yards, but and look, I really like Swift's game. He didn't. I think he had. I think he was 5 for 7 rushing in the first half, but finished with like 110 scrimmage yards. He was really big in the second half.
Yeah.
He's really.
I'll tell you
good.
what. Even Gainwell had some really good moments in this game. That 1 third down conversion where he ran a guy over to get to the sticks.
Yeah,
that was a huge play. I think Kenny he's clearly second in this pecking order, and he should be, but he can still be effective. And I think we saw that today is like that has to be the mix of it. It has to be mostly Swift, but there are plays for Kenny, and he has to make the most of them.
Yeah, I mean, his stats are always going to look bad because he's running in situations where the defense knows they're going to be running. Yeah, he's probably averaging like 3 yards a carry this year. He was 2.4 today, but they're effective yards, and he's doing what he's being asked to do. So he might not be happy because the numbers aren't going to look good. But Swift finished 17 for 70 after having 7 yards at halftime on 5 carries. And what do you have? 6 catches, which is, it's the most by an Eagles running back, I think, since Boston had 6 in 2019.
Against the Giants?
Against Washington.
Oh, I was just a guess.
Yeah, I guess Washington.
Pretty good guess by me, though.
It was a good guess. But Swift also had 38 receiving yards. So he had, 108 scrimmage yards in a game where he really wasn't much of a factor early. I just thought the Eagles wore him down. I mean, the time of possession, what was it, 37:55, I believe?
Yeah, almost 38 minutes. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's really
now some of those long drives were field goal drives, and that's why the score at the end of it doesn't look as.
I just think they wore him down, and that's what this O-line can do to you. And I think that kind of has a lot to do with that. The second half numbers were even more skewed. I think up until that last little drive that the Rams had where they got a couple first downs, they'd had the ball 9:31 in the second half. I mean, it's crazy. The Eagles, and that's a stat that really encompasses offense and defense. That's why I like time of possession. It's kind of one of those overriding stats that kind of gives you a sense of the whole game. And they just, the longer this game went on, the more they dominated. They were very physical. The Rams aren't a particularly physical team, and I think the Eagles' physicality, is that the word?
Yeah.
Kind of took some of the fight out of the Rams as the game went on.
Yeah, I thought they had an excellent plan for Aaron Donald, which was mostly double him, triple him, don't let him beat you. And like the Rams don't have a ton else. So it's a good plan. I mean, if you got to do whatever you can to stop that one dude, and he still doesn't have a sack against the Eagles. You give them credit for the game plan. You give the players credit for executing it. It worked.
I thought Lane had an unbelievable game. I mean, he's had a lot of those, but Sua went in there and, he's played one game in his life at right guard. It was the playoff game in 21. I loved his attitude. I talked to him, I guess, on Wednesday or Thursday, and he was just like, I can't wait. I relish these kind of opportunities. Aaron Donald's a great player, but I'm really confident in myself. And I think you have to embrace it. You have to kind of, accept the challenge and embrace the challenge. And Sua played really well. The whole O-line did. But it's not easy to lose a guy. I mean, Cam's been playing really well. So,
yeah,
that was big. My bold prediction on pregame show was 500, that the Eagles would net 500 yards.
Not far off.
I know, but they wouldn't give it to me. I tried to round up. I tried to round up.
What did they end up with?
No, it was 454, 453.
But so they're over the 50 mark. You round up.
It was 454. That's right. If the Rams hadn't gotten those first downs at the end, the Eagles, there was still enough time that the Eagles would have run some plays, so they would have at least gotten to 470.
Okay.
But offensively, I mean, 13 out of 18 is nuts on third down. It didn't seem like they were running the ball great, and then you look at they got 159 rushing yards. Obviously, Jalen's a big piece of that. They ran the ball 39 times and threw it 39 times. It was a fun offense to watch today, even, despite the red zone issues. I mean, they were just moving the ball up and down the field.
They were. That drive at the end of the first half, that was the biggest moment of this game was, sure. Sometimes as much as Nick talks about being aggressive, there are times where I don't think he's aggressive enough. But they were great on that drive. Obviously, AJ has the big catch in the middle of the field and in stride, one-handed. He said he didn't even know he caught the ball. But that was an amazing play. And they get down and they have enough time to take a shot at the end zone. He gets the DPI drawn on him, which he said he does not like that play. He wants touchdowns. He was not happy even with the end result. But
if he caught it, I would have been that much closer to 500.
That's true. But that was such a big moment in this game because not only did they get the points there, but the Rams had a chance to double up a little bit because they scored kind of close to the end of the first half and they were getting the ball back. We were talking about a major swing in this game. So I was impressed by that.
Excuse me.
I thought that was a really important part of this game. Maybe the most important part of this game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And to have that kind of confidence that with, you have one play, you have one shot to score, to have that much confidence in your quarterback and your whole operation to be able to get that yard is really remarkable. I mean, because
it's funny. I go in waves with this play because I get sick of talking about it because it's like everyone makes a big deal about it. But no, we should talk about it because it's a super effective play that they run better than every other team in the league. Like I'm tired of the discourse about whether or not it should be legal. Like I'm tired of that whole talk about it. But we should talk about it a lot because the Eagles run it to perfection. They run it without fear that they're going to get stopped on the goal line and not get points there. The push element of it is so overblown.
Yeah.
But they run the play better than anyone else in the league, and it showed up tonight.
It's so funny watching other teams try to run it.
Yeah, like the Giants got two guys hurt because they never practiced it, and that somehow, like I saw that the league wants to look at it again because it's an injury concern. Not if you practice the play and you're good at it. Like that's
and
crazy.
You have Jalen Hurts instead of Daniel Jones.
Although Daniel Jones, in theory, should be good at it.
I'm not sure in theory if he should be good at anything, but that's a question for another day. But and you have Jason Kelsey and that the whole group.
That Landon Dickerson helps there a little bit too.
Yeah, he played great tonight or today. Tonight for me, this afternoon for you.
I don't know what time it is, to be fair.
Yeah, I hear you. I've been there. But you know what? If they do outlaw it, I don't think they will. I don't think they should. But if they do, they'll find another way to score.
I think it would be almost as effective if they didn't have the push element.
I agree. And I think there was
It's so funny because like the one play I'm watching it and it's like Quez Watkins pushing Jalen Hurts. Like, do we think that's the key to this? Is like
I know
150-pound Quez Watkins getting behind Jalen Hurts and pushing him?
Yeah, that was I did notice that. That was interesting.
Speaking of Quez,
Yeah.
I got a lot of Quez tweets because I've somehow become the Quez guy. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, it was a bad play by him. It was a bad play by him on that little screen pass. Now you can question a play going to him in that situation. I think that's fair to question, but he's got to follow the blocks and get there.
Sure. Yeah, that was I mean, he hasn't played much. I don't know if that's any excuse, probably not, but it was he just kind of showed
we did see OZ get some burn after that. So maybe they'll start to split some reps.
OZ's just better. I just think he's better.
But this year, there's no question he's been better this year.
Yeah. And he was better last year, even though he wasn't here. I mean, Quez had, Quez was good in 2021. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought the offense was really impressive. And it's really encouraging that they've just gotten a little bit better each week. The points might not show it, but everything else does.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way to put it. I'm
28
impressed.
first downs, Dave.
It's a lot.
28 first downs.
And this isn't like a great defense, but they're not like the worst defense in the world either.
No, they're. I mean, this is a dangerous team. I mean, I was really impressed. I was impressed with every facet of. It's also 3 straight weeks, I believe, without special teams messing up. Without
that is true.
Any real, issues. That's
and
big.
Actually, like I think good special teams play.
Yeah, well, Covey, 3 straight weeks with a 20-yard return or longer. First Eagle to do that since that Darren Sproles in 2014.
He was pretty good at it.
He was.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to talk special teams right now, but I've been impressed by Covey.
Yeah.
Do you want us to not talk special teams now?
I was just going to say we didn't really have a budget because we're going to talk offense and defense. We didn't say when we're. So I think it's okay.
Okay, we can talk special teams.
Looking up how rare it is for a team to have 12 or more first downs, both rushing and receiving in the same game. That can't happen very often.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so.
I'll look that up.
Jake Elliott, automatic.
The Eagles did against Tampa 2 weeks ago. That's crazy.
Covey was great.
Yeah.
Punter. Mann's one punt was fine.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it was down to like 9, right?
Yeah, what else do you want?
Their punter's unbelievable, by the way. Their punter's like the best punter I've ever seen.
You think so?
He had like 5 punts inside the 1.
Well, his one was really tough. That just bounced up like straight in the air and got him at the 6.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good to see special teams not costing them yards or big plays.
Yeah, you need that. And they have some young players who are playing well on those units. Like Healy Ringo looks really good out there. And you need him. You need guys like that to kind of be your core special teamers because he doesn't have a role on defense. So, yeah, I think that helps out quite a bit.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well, why don't we take a break and then we'll come back with defense on the other side? Sound good?
All right. Sounds good. You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Before we start this segment, can I just say one last thing on the offense?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead. What do you got?
A.J. Brown's, you might have looked this one up too. What's he got? 433 yards the last 3 games. The stat head span finder only goes back to 1971. So I took it upon myself during Nick's like 11-minute presser, gave me the time to work this out, That's the most yards in a 3-game span by an Eagles receiver since 1952, when
Wow.
Bud Grant had 445 in his last 3 NFL games. And Bud Grant he left for the CFL after that year, and never played in the NFL again. Obviously became a very well-known coach with the Vikings for a long, long time. Bud Grant actually played 1 year for the Eagles, had 997 yards, and during one 3-game stretch had more yards than A.J. Brown. So that was 71 years ago. We didn't really talk about A.J., but he's playing at such a unbelievable level right now. I mean, I saw Mike Quick kind of just after his prime. Obviously, T.O. I mean, Deshaun had some really good stretches, but I've never seen a receiver have this kind of run where, I mean, he looks so smooth catching the ball, and then he just turns from like a receiver into a linebacker and just starts mangling people once he has the ball in his hands. I mean, he's stiff-arming guys. He's running over guys. I mean, he is such a weapon. I mean, he's such
By
a
the way, you mentioned stiff arming. There was the one Dallas Goedert play where he's running down the field, and I don't know like where you draw the line between a stiff arm and just punching a defensive back in the face, but he was pretty close to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, both of them. They both have that same approach where they're gonna once the ball's in their hands, they're gonna be a linebacker out there, and they're just gonna, they're gonna initiate the contact and run you over.
Yeah, you're right though about AJ. We're seeing an all-time great in his prime. So, don't think this happens all the time. People have been Eagles fans for a long time and they haven't seen this. This is special.
Yeah, I mean, we got excited when Travis Fulgham had like 71 yards 5 games
Yeah,
in a
I mean,
row.
this is Fulgham like right now what we're seeing.
I'd even venture to say he's better than Travis Fulgham.
Would you really? Wow.
I got excited when Deontay Burnett had a 41-yard catch against the Giants. But yeah, it's I mean, and look, we all know this team has had long, long stretches where they didn't have good wide receiver play. I mean, T.O. for 21 games. Other than that, I mean, just way too many Freddie Mitchells and James Thrashes and, Torrance Smalls. I mean, go down the whole list. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, to stack 3 games in a row like this, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Especially on an offense like this where there are other guys. I mean, him and Dallas Goedert had huge games today, and Devontae was the man left out. And it's like you're always trying to massage that a little bit. We saw the broadcast showed the long walk Devontae had with Nick, I believe. Like you're going to have to massage it all year to make sure that guys are getting their touches. But that's part of the danger of this team is that it can be any one of those guys.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, I mean, we've seen AJ have his moments where he doesn't hide his feelings, and it's never really gotten to the point where it's been a problem. It's been something to keep an eye on. But Devontae's, had those moments where he hasn't gotten the ball. Dallas has had those moments, but they're all team first guys, and they might show they might let their frustration show, but they're never going to do anything to hurt the team. And I think they're all ultimately team first guys.
Yeah, and look, all of them will admit to you, like, yeah, of course they want the football. They're going to be frustrated at times. I think Devontae's better at hiding it than AJ, but like he thinks of himself as the number one receiver. That the opener last year when he didn't get a ball, he was upset. Of course he was, but I think though that they've seen enough now to know that if it isn't your game one Sunday, there's a very good chance it will be the next Sunday, and they go into each game just knowing that.
Yeah, who is it going to be next week?
Covey.
Oh, Covey's going to get some run on offense?
I don't think so. Let's move to defense a little bit.
Yeah.
Pitched a shutout in the second half, and if I would have told you that was going to happen watching that first half, you probably wouldn't have believed me. Cooper Kupp was a problem, to put it nicely. They were rotating a bunch of different nickels out there. I guess 4 guys really played some nickel snaps in the first half. They started the game with Mario Goodrich. Then they brought in Eli Ricks in situations. We saw Bradley Roby get some snaps. And then when Cooper Kupp was starting to hurt them, Darius Slay said, hey, put me at the nickel. And then he gets beat on that one deep ball. What did you make of their plan coming into this game, and what do you think's going to happen with that nickel going forward?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the plan was to try some different things and see what stuck. And I mean, there is no answer. There is no one single answer that's going to work every week. The reality is they just don't have a guy. Now, look, Reuben might. I don't have any sense of how many snaps he played. It didn't seem like it was more than maybe 10.
No, I think it was more than that.
Okay.
I don't have him. I don't know now, but I'd venture to say 20 plus.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
It's hard to tell, but
because he had drives that were just his drives.
Yeah, I think the best option is going to be to gradually ramp his snaps up, and see how that goes. I just think, they're running so many D-backs out there with barely any experience, and to pitch a shutout against a possible Hall of Fame quarterback in the second half in his own building with, look, how many, Bradbury, Slay and Blankenship are the only guys that even played for this team last year that are out there. It's a real patchwork group, and they're not going to be able to replace Avante. So I think they're just going to keep looking and keep hoping. And I expect guys like Goodrich and Ricks to get. I like Ricks. I think Ricks, he battles. He goes out there and competes. He just doesn't have the reps. So maybe somebody will, assert themselves, but I don't know if there's a clear, simple answer other than hope that Bradley Roby in the next couple of weeks can ramp up the snaps and maybe take on a larger load.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the plan eventually to get him just being the guy. I think it was pretty clear early on they wanted Goodrich out there on early downs, and they wanted Ricks out there in coverage on passing downs, and it was rough. I mean, those guys one-on-one against Cooper Kupp, it went about as well as you thought it would go. Second half, though, the defense was great, and they had a lead, and the lead always helps because the pass rush can finally get there because the quarterback has to hold the football. And there were a few unforced errors from Stafford. He missed some passes. His receivers dropped a couple, but
he doesn't throw a great deep ball. He's not super accurate on those deep balls, and he had some guys open, and he couldn't get anywhere near him. And now a lot of that was pressure. I thought the second half was the Eagles' best half pressuring this year. They really got after it. Look, when you only have to play 20 minutes in a game, you're going to be fresh at the end of the game, and I think we saw that. I mean, plus we knew the Rams were going to be a known pass. I really liked the way they got after it with the pressure in the second half. That was a big part of shutting them out.
It was. Jalen Carter, 2 sacks. Hassan Reddick, 2 sacks on back-to-back plays. Carter is unbelievable.
He is unbelievable.
I feel like every week I shouldn't be amazed anymore, but it's like this guy should not be this good right now.
Yeah, he's played 5 NFL games.
It's terrifying that he's this good already.
I mean, he was out there with a Hall of Famer, and he was the best interior lineman on the field today. It wasn't close. First Eagles rookie interior lineman with 2 sacks in a game since Corey Simon in 2000. Yeah, 2000 his rookie year. I think he's the first rookie with 2 since Derek Barnett, back when he used to get sacks as a rookie in 17. But yeah, he's just he's unstoppable. I mean, I can't wait to see where he goes from here because he's just starting out.
I mean, everyone always says like the sky's the limit with him, man. Like
beyond the sky.
This is all pro, like Hall of Fame potential.
I agree.
I really don't even feel like that's too far after 5 games to say that.
Yeah, I know. Normally, I would. I mean,
I kind of pride myself on being the pump the brakes guy, but he's unbelievable.
The last guy I said that about was Travis Fulgham. But I'm very confident this story will end differently than that one. I think he'll be in the league in 2 years. But yeah, I mean, what's he got? 3.5 sacks now?
Yeah, he had 1.5 coming in. He got 2.
5 games. It's scary how good he is already. And I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think it's inappropriate to throw those kind of superlatives around about him. I mean, he might be the best defensive tackle in the league right now.
Yeah, I think he's
Who's
at
better?
least in the conversation. And it's not just the pass rush. He's great against the run. The effort he gives, I think it got so convoluted when there was the discussion about effort with him. And I think it sprung up in the pre-draft because people were talking about practice. Because in games, I mean, it's always been there. Really, all the Georgia guys the Eagles have are great effort on the field. Like we see him chasing down everything. He's gotten sacks that way. He's a fun player to watch. And his second sack, I mean, Matt Stafford is going to wake up in the middle of the night with that image of Jalen Carter getting shot out of a rocket right at him.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some snaps where he gets into the backfield so fast and you just want to rewind. It's like, how did he do that?
He's so polished already. I knew he was talented. I knew he was physically gifted, and I thought that he would win with those things early. But the polish on his pass rush has astounded me. Even late in this game, I watched him pull off a spin move. I didn't know he had that in his bag like that. I mean, it's everything he does. He has such a good feel for how to set up offensive linemen. And one of my favorite moments from post game, you know who he credited with helping him get the pass rush ready for this game?
Who's that?
Matt Leo.
Really?
Sticking around. Matt Leo works with these guys. And he said Matt Leo really helped him get his pass rush plan together.
That's great to hear. He's the ninth interior lineman with 3.5 or more sacks in his first 5 games. Corey Simon had 4. Keith Millard, another former Eagle, had 4. Santana Dotson has the record. He had 6 in his first 5 games. But yeah, he's special. And I think look, there were questions about him coming out. And I think the thing I've been most impressed with you think of him as just this big, strong, fast, athletic guy, but I mean, he really prepares. I mean, he really puts in the work. You can tell he studies his opponents. You can tell I think a lot of it is just instinct and talent, but you can tell he knows what he's doing beyond just pure ability. I mean, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, certainly. Hassan Reddick, mentioned him, back-to-back sacks, consecutive plays. I think the TV picked up Nick Sirianni going crazy after the sacks. He's a lunatic.
Yeah, he's kind of nuts.
He's going to sleep so well on that flight back to Philly. It's fun to watch, though.
Yeah, other coaches must hate his guts.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. It's so genuine, though. It's it's not a put on. It's who he is. I think it's one of the reasons his players like him so much and believe in him because he's so engaged. I mean, we've all seen coaches who are just kind of stone faced. And look, there's different ways to skin a cat, and say, some of those guys have been great coaches, but I mean, he's nuts. Yeah, he's certifiably nuts. And you could come up with a pretty good video just with him just during the game. Don't show any footage of the game. Just show him reacting to, big plays and giving up big plays. I mean, he was fired up today. He was yelling at people, hugging people. It was something.
Here's the Rams drives in the second half.
Yeah.
Punt, turnover on downs, end of game.
Yeah, and I think half their yards in the second half were on that last drive. They what? I think I have it here somewhere. My notes got a little convoluted. I think I skipped like 10 pages, so half my notes are in the middle of my notebook. But their first 3 drives, they had like 145 yards, and their last 5, they had like 79, something like that. Those aren't
their first 3 were in the first half, so that's the easy way to do it.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything. That was a heck of a win. That was impressive.
I'm impressed by that win. That was a game where You picked the Rams, which I didn't think was crazy. I had a close win. I think I had 33-31. So both of us thought that this was going to be a closer game. We thought there was a chance they would lose it. And it was a pretty dominating performance. I know the final score, we mentioned that, not really indicative of just how dominant that was, but really impressed here. And now, the Eagles face the Jets up in North Jersey next week, a real chance to be 6-0 before they host the Dolphins.
We were going around the horn asking who's their first loss going to be. I'm not going to pick against them for quite some time. I know that. Try to get back.
You took your shot, like me last year, taking the Titans.
But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with my pick. That was my gut feeling. I just didn't think they could cover those two guys, and for a half they couldn't.
You look before the bye week, they have at Jets, home against the Dolphins, at Commanders, home against the Cowboys. Obviously, the two toughest games of those four are Dolphins and Cowboys, but they're both home games, which it helps out a little bit, even though their road games are now home games anyway.
Yeah, it seemed that way. I believe
here.
I believe their first loss is going to come in that Buffalo, Kansas City 49ers stretch.
Oh yeah, so you've got them going
9-0.
9-0 before the bye?
Yeah.
Okay.
After what I saw today, I thought this was a really tough game, and they outgained them. What was the final total? 454. Let's just say 500.
249.
454 to 249. So almost
we'll round that down to 200. So 500 to 200 in this game.
They did so many good things today. So I think today's the first day I really thought this could be a Super Bowl team again.
They looked like it today. Yeah. After, and it still wasn't perfect. They're obviously the red zone needs to be cleaned up. I think they still have to find some stability in the secondary, and I think that really becomes Bradley Roby getting a chance to just be the guy in the nickel. Reminder, there's a really good chance Nakobe Dean comes back for the next game. His IR stint could potentially end. He's missed the 4 games now, so we'll see. He's been working on a side field with trainers, so I think he is close. We'll see what they decide to do, but
and we could talk about that during the week because it's a really interesting thing. Who would have ever thought we'd be like, oh, they got too many linebackers?
Well, Nicholas Morrow had a chance to make some big plays today, and he didn't. Now, if he dropped the pick, then he dove over the fumble that was on the ground. If he makes one of those plays, it's a much more interesting conversation. But clearly, Nakobe's going to be back on the field when he's ready.
I would think so. I think there might be some role for Nicholas Morrow.
It's curious I know we shouldn't be talking about this. We got to save some stuff for the week, but curious to see if they like him at the will at all, because he's really just been the Mike with the green dot. Cunningham has been the will, and I think he's played all right.
Yeah. I don't think that's Nick Morrow's strength. So I think it's going to be Nakobe and Zach Cunningham with Morrow getting some situational run.
Okay.
And we'll see. He seems to be a decent blitzer. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, he's a good blitzer.
Yeah.
They blitz the heck out of him.
Yeah, he blitzes all the time.
I thought Josh Sweat had some good rushes today. We didn't talk about him, but I thought he definitely had some good rushes, good pressure. Anyone else we need to highlight?
I mentioned him earlier. I'm just really impressed with DeAndre Swift's numbers weren't he's had better stats, but I just thought in some really high leverage situations, he just runs so tough. He gets yards when it doesn't look like there's yards there, like that first contact, and then he just, he's like about to go down, and he just kind of gets 4 more yards.
His vision has been impressive.
It really is. It might be the most impressive thing about him. He just sees the field so well.
And it's probably unfair to bring up Miles Sanders, but if there was one thing I would knock him for at times, it was he wouldn't find those yards. Sometimes he wouldn't find the yards when they were in front of him. I think Swift just has a better feel for, and Miles was great last year, obviously 1,200 yards, Pro Bowl season. I don't want to take anything away from him, but I think we're seeing Swift pick up some yards that Miles wouldn't have.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I just feel better. And yeah, I don't want to knock him because I mean,
Great year.
He had a really, really good year. He was 7 for 32 today for an 0-5 team. Chuba Hubbard had more carries again. I just think Swift's receiving ability makes him a better fit for this offense too. I mean, I really like him as a receiver. What did he average today? Like, I'm sorry, I got to go to my game book.
What are you trying to do?
He had 6 catches for
38 yards.
So 6 yards a pop. Nothing wrong with that for a running back. So I just like his game. I like how he fits.
Yeah. We got anything else here?
No. Have a safe trip back.
Yeah, thanks. I did want to I kind of jokingly mentioned a little bit. The fans, unbelievable. I mean, it's every road game now.
Yeah,
and it matters. Like I'm not pandering here. Like it actually matters. There was a moment. Jalen Carter's like calling for crowd noise on a 3rd and long. He's calling for crowd noise in a visiting stadium. Like that's
tremendous.
That shouldn't happen. And it's one thing just to see the green, but like when it's having an effect on the actual game, it's worth mentioning. And it did. It absolutely did in this game.
And I guess there's some stadiums where the tickets are just so hard to get that you won't have that. I mean, you're not
like Kansas City, it's tough to get there.
Kansas City, Lambeau. I mean, there's a few places, but it's such an advantage. And I know a few of the players talked about how it's a real thing, and it helps. Any edge you can get helps.
Yeah, it absolutely. Like this place was a lot of green, and by the end of it, it's a healthy lead. You're hearing Eagles chants. Fans are walking out. I do want to say, beautiful stadium. You can, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it behind me a little bit. I got a nice tour of it because no one knew how to get to the press box, but I did get to walk around. That's one part of the road you probably don't miss. Like no one knows where to go, and you're just wandering around the stadium. But it is beautiful. They did a great job.
Now I just don't know where to go back here in Philly.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thanks for wishing me a safe flight. I will be taking that red eye against my better judgment.
You might get home before I do.
I doubt that, but yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday, normal schedule, Tuesday, Thursday pods. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button and subscribe there as well. Any final words?
Oh, yeah, one final word. The Eagles are the 6th team in NFL history. I meant to use this to lose a Super Bowl and then go 5-0 to open the next season. Just really rare for a team to play like this after that disappointment. I think that speaks volumes for Nick and his ability to get them remotivated and recentered. The last team to do that was the 91 Bills, and before that, the 81 Eagles. So it's a rarity. So they're the 3rd team in the last 40 plus years to do that. It really says a lot.
Those were worthwhile final words. That's it for Reuben. I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We will talk to you soon.